That last video ended abruptly. Basically, Excel crashed on me. So this is just a very short video just to end off that previous lesson. So we're at the point where we had our boxes formatted, and we're now looking at the upper whisker. So here we go. So positive error value into summary here. So those numbers that we're chasing here are the Q4 minus Q3 ones, all of those. So notice we're doing 4 values here because we're doing 4 box plots concurrently. And there we go. And look, as we want, they're filling up the spaces that they should. Okay, so that's good. Let's now do the lower whiskers. So the red area here. Let's go through that process again. So error bar options. We're doing minus this time. We're doing with a cap. We've got custom specified value. Negative error values into the summary here. And we're looking at Q1 minus Q0, that row. And great, look at that. Exactly as we want. All right, so final bit of cleaning up here. Formatting. So we're getting rid of that fill. We're getting, the other thing was the shadow too. I should get rid of these shadows. In the red space here, format data series, get rid of the shadow, no fill, gone, good, great. All right, that looks good. We'll get rid of this as well. So this will be no fill. And that bar is just to take us from 0 up to the minimum. That's the only purpose of it. Once we've identified our minimum with our whisker, there's no need for it. So no fill and no shadow. And that looks great. The last piece is this one here. This is purely for our outliers, and you can see that doesn't so much suggest that there's lots of outliers. It more suggests that there's a large range across those outliers. So no fill on this one. No shadow. And there we go. But there is a kind of a ghost of the shadow. And just to check that if we take this across to Word, that we're still able to view it in the same way. There's my graph there. So if I click in here, sure, yep, there it is. Okay, so I think that's a good way to have it. Now, series 1 to 6. There's that's not telling us anything, that legend. So let's get rid of it. It would be nice to edit the labels on this axis here, so that we have, the time periods. Off the top of my head, I can't think. I know I've done this before. I'm not going to sort of, muck around trying to figure it out right now, but there's certainly a way to do that. One last thing before we go. 2 actually. So a quick thing in here. If we want to look at doing the layout of the chart, we probably put in some titles, maybe axis titles, and a chart title. The other thing I'm going to suggest is that we do the same graph again, but without the outliers. Okay, and so I'll just show you how to start that off. It's pretty straightforward actually. So let's highlight all that data again, but ignoring that last piece, which is essentially the bar that tells us, that shows us the distance from the max, the old max to the new max, or from the new max to the outlier. Okay, highlighting that there. Charts, bars, stacked bars, select data, switch, get rid of that, done. There it is. Okay, so Following the same procedures as before, we can just go through and format these into nice looking box and whisker plots. And the advantage of having it in this presentation is that we don't have our box and whiskers just kind of crammed up to one end of this graph page. It seems like a lot of wasted space. The point of having that space is not wasted. The point of having it there is so that we can get a feel, get a sense for where those outliers are and just how much they distort, how much they skew the original plots. And just on that subject of skewed shapes, we can see in all of these that these are all positively skewed graphs. Okay, and so meaning we have long tails at the upper end. The upper whiskers are long, and we have a median which is kind of pushed to the lower end of the box. So it suggests a kind of a high density at the lower end of things, at the lower end of the sale price range. Okay, I think that's enough for now. So that's box plots. I'm sure if you explore more with the options here, you could probably jazz these up a bit more with titles, with appropriate labels, and even with some colours. Who knows? But I think in your final presentation, it would be good to have a box plot showing the outliers, or box plots showing the outliers, comparative box plots, by the way. You can see I'll put a heading in here, and then just the ones without the outliers. Let me say this correctly. Both representations here are without outliers, but this one is without outliers, but showing you where they were, if that makes sense. Thank you very much.